Are you interested in learning how I made this corset with yoke, with the best sewing tricks and tips that you would never have imagined of? Then this video is for you. Please subscribe to my channel as we get started. Welcome Sew family to my channel. If you are a new subscriber, you are highly welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you. So here are my patterns. I have a video on how we drafted these patterns here, so I'll drop a link on how to watch it. And on my pattern, I have added half-inch sewing allowance round. I only added half-inch sewing allowance only, and on the side of the front pattern, I added half-inch also. As you know, most people add a lot of allowance, but half-inch is okay because it's an inseam sewing. And on the center front, I cut it on fold. So here is the back pattern. I've also added my sewing allowance, which is half-inch round, even on the hem part and on the side also. And also remember that if you are making yours into a corset blouse, it will look like this, but if it's an half length that you'll be joining to skirt, it will stop at the waistline. So we are going to be working with the front pattern first. Always use your pattern to arrange your fabric. So now I have gone ahead to join it, and I've also joined the lining, and I've ironed them immediately. So here is the back pattern. You will see that I use my paper to arrange so I can be guided. I've joined it, but I did not join it at the center. And here is the lining also. I have joined them and I've also ironed it. So please, you are going to be ironing your pattern pieces as you are sewing them. So now we are going to be joining the front piece with the back piece on the sides with the half-inch sewing allowance. And here is the result. I have also ironed it. You have to iron it so that the seam can be relaxed. And here is what it looks like. So now we are going to be working on the boning channel. You have to sew your boning channel. So I cut a piece of fabric and the width is 1 inch. So this is the trick I do so as to make sure that my boning channel is straight and accurate on both sides. So whatever the part I am going to be sewing on, I use my iron I'll press iron it. Like the center now, I've ironed it so that the center will be accurate, and this side also I wanted to create a slanted design, so I folded both fabric so that it will be able to reflect on the two sides of the front side. So this fabric is colorful, that's why it's not showing, but it actually showed. Now I'll go and sew my boning channel, and you can see that my hand was able to be straight. All the lines I have in mind, it will be accurate, and I'll not need to be measuring up and down. So now we are going to be joining our cups also. I'm going to unpin them and I will notch the bust point. If you watch the video on how we drafted this, there was a part I asked you to mark the bust point. Now I'll be using the pattern paper to know where the bust point is. So this way it will help your bra cup to be accurate. So look at the way I'm going to be arranging my bra cups, and I'll go and join it. I've joined the first two parts and I am going to be notching them. So look at the way I notch. Unlike the way we clip neckline, this notching is different. So look at the way I notch, and please don't let it get into the seam allowance. So you can see the cup effect already upon. We are not even through yet. So now I'm going to bring the upper part of the cup. So before you join your cups, always arrange it. Use your pattern paper to check, and I am going to be pinning like so. So look at the way I'm pinning. Also, one of the major things that makes your corset to be beautiful is the idea of pinning. You must pin and you must also iron. So after pinning, I'll go and sew with half-inch sewing allowance, and here is the end result on the lining and on the main fabric. I have also ironed them already, and you can see that cup effect. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to cut my bra cup. So in this video, I'm going to be making use of an homemade bra cup, and I've folded my wording into two. I have also pinned the pattern paper to it. So now I'm going to be cutting it. So these are one of the tricks I'm going to be showing you. The advantage of this bra cup is for people with bust sizes that you can't see their bra cup conveniently at the market. This works perfectly and it gives a beautiful fit to the body also. So I'll be showing you two different methods of sewing the bra cup: the zigzag stitch method and the straight sewing stitch method. So I've taken it to my machine and I'll be starting with the zigzag stitch method first. So now I'll first arrange the first two pieces together and I'll start sewing together using my zigzag stitch. So it's advisable you sew twice, and you make sure that you set your machine well so that the zigzag stitch can be wide. We have different wideness of zigzag stitch. So after that, I will make sure that I take my time to sew it, and you can see the beautiful effect it is giving. So using my pattern paper as a guide, because you need your pattern paper, that's why you must not throw it away. You need to keep confirming to see if you are right. Then I will also arrange the third part, and also as you are sewing, please do not compress the wording. Another thing about this is that you can double this wording as much as you want. My client has a small bust, that's why I made use of one layer, but you can make use of 2 layers or 3 layers. It will give it more structure. You can sew for the fashion fabric and the lining. You can even pad it like I'm going to be padding in the video. Now this is the straight sewing part. Although I did not add sewing allowance because wording tends to stretch. So all you need to do is to place it on top of each other with 0.25 sewing allowance, that's 1/4 inch. Then you sew, and also sew twice. And please do not compress the cup as you are sewing. It is not hard at all. Then after that, you also use your paper as a guide to check, to confirm what you are sewing. Then you arrange them again, and that way it will help you to know how to sew. Then also this one, you also place it on top of the fabric, on top of the wording, using 0.25 sewing allowance. Then you sew. So in case if you do not have a zigzag stitch machine, as for straight sewing, you can do this method. They all work well. So I intentionally did these two methods in this video, and here they are. You can see how beautiful it is. If you see the end result of this, you are going to love it. So you can choose to sew 2 of these, that will be 4, so that it can be double, and even sew for your lining also. This will give it enough volume. So now I will place my bra cup on the wording, and I'll just try to arrange it so I can get half of the bra cup, because we are going to be padding the bra cup, so it's just half you need to get. So even if you double your bra cup, you can still cut the padded. So this way to make it like it will make it thicker on the lower part of the bra cup. It will make it look like it is padded. So after that, we are going to be gumming our bra cup to the main fabric. So had it been you cut more than one, you will gum to the main fabric and you also gum to the lining. But regardless, don't let it get into the seam allowance. I noticed my bra cup was interfering with the seam allowance, so as I was ironing, I was cutting, because that ½ inch matters. If it gets into the seam allowance, it will be too thick. So look at the way I am pinning. You will notice that I was arranging the bra cup. I was not just pinning, I was arranging it, and I was not forcing my hand. So you arrange, then you pin. Also, if the wording doesn't iron on time, you can add hemming gum. You put hemming gum in between, then to make it iron. Look at the results, look at how it is bouncing, and look at that effect. So I'm going to be placing the padded also, that's the wording I cut out so it can pad the bra cup on it, and using my hemming gum, I'll place it like that, and I'll put my padded on it, and I'll go and iron. And this is the end result. Look at how beautiful it is. Look at how the cup is standing. So remember to trim it round so it will not get into your sewing allowance. Now we are going to be fixing our bra cup to the pattern, to the clothes. And to do that, you have to get these 3 vital points. That point where the cup is at the center, this side here, this second side here is one of the major points, and the center where your bra cup was joined, and the center where your stitch was joined on the clothes, that point. Those 3 points will help you to make your bra cup to be well attached. So you don't need to pin too much round, just those 3 points matters. When you are sewing, you'll be able to arrange it. So I have gone ahead to sew it, and this is what it looks like. So you can see that it fitted well. So some people used to complain that their lines does not align. If you fix it this way, your lines will align well. And now I'm going to be notching. Please, you can sew well, and when you do not notch, your work will look like it is not neat. So no matter what, always remember to notch, and do not let it get into the seam allowance. So take your time to notch that point. You can even trim it a little. So now I'm going to set this aside to work on the yoke. So here is my yoke. I made use of a plain fabric for it, but you can make use of veil net or chantilly lace. I turned my yoke with a lining, but you can turn yours with a bias or the net or the lace. So now I'm going to be fixing my front yoke first to the front part. So I'll first check the point where the sweetheart neckline was at the front pattern, at the front fabric, and I'll pin my yoke and I'll also arrange it like so. So as you are pinning your yoke, make sure that you do not get into the armhole area. Remember, there's a small armhole on that Ankara part. So now I will pin one side, and while sewing, I will arrange the second side. So here is what it looks like, and I'm going to go and notch. So I need to notch my seam allowance this way to make it feel more relaxed and easy to open. I'll also take my time to trim it, and I'll make sure that it doesn't get into the seam line. And if I feel satisfied with what I have trimmed, I'll also trim the armhole area because I noticed there was excess. If yours do not have, there's no need for that. So now I'm going to be placing the back yoke like so, and I am going to be fixing it. Please take note of the armhole. There's a small part of armhole that the yoke will complement, so do not let it get into that part. And I'm going to pin it, and I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew with 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I'm so sorry for the background noise coming from my neighbors. So here is what it looks like, and now I'm going to be fixing the shoulder to shoulder together. It's like a sandwiching method in which you will place the fabric will face the fabric, then you use one part of the lining to cover the lining. So I'm going to make a detailed video on this, but this way it makes the sewing neat, and I'm just going to arrange them together and sew. So here's what it looks like, and our inseam too is looking nice. Now we're going to be using our lining to cover up everything. So now I'm going to be using the lining. Look at the way I will fix my lining. But one thing I do is the yoke at times tend to interfere when you are trying to use your lining to cover up. So what I do is I drag my yoke down and I use my pin to secure it, so that way I'll conveniently sew without being interrupted by the yoke. Now I'll place my lining on the seam area, as you can see, and I'll try to pin it round. So I intentionally showed the process of the pinning of this lining because at times most people tend to make mistake of pinning the armhole with the yoke, and by mistake you would have sewed the armhole part. So there's a small part on the main fabric that it is of the Ankara part that it is the armhole. So that part you just try to be careful so as not to pin that part. And also when you are pinning your lining, try to open the seam so that they can be relaxed. So you notice that I've skipped the armhole area and I continued with the back yoke. So I am going to do this, and I will repeat the same thing on the second part. So now I'll go and sew with 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and I won't sew the armhole part. I've done that, and I'm going to be notching everything. As you can see, I'm going to be taking my time to notch everything, and I'll show you the armhole area that I did not sew that is still open. That is the part where the sleeve will be attached to. But before then, you are going to top stitch. And one thing I do is I cut a piece of hemming gum, and while top stitching on the seam allowance and the lining, I sew the hemming gum, so that when I'm ironing, the hemming gum will help me to secure the bust area. So this is what it looks like. I have joined it, but I did not iron it yet. So if you have plans to fix an eyelet, there's no need for this next method. But if you are not fixing an eyelet, you will cut some piece of fabric. The width should be at least 1.5 inch. Then you fold it into two for you to get tiny ropes like this, and the length should be at least 2 inches. So now I am going to be arranging my clothes like this, and I'll come down from the upper part with 1/2 inch. So I chose to pin it so it will not be shifting. So I came down by 1/2 inch from the first one, and I put in my rope. So make sure that your rope is at least wide, or like at least the wideness is 1 inch. I later readjusted this one. So before you fix the next eyelet, you measure 1 inch down, and under that point that you measure the 1 inch, you fix your second eyelet. So that 1 inch will be like the spacing. So you also do the same thing on the second part of your clothes, and make sure that your hand, as in the eyelets, are accurate. you do not want to make mistake. So I also have a detailed video on how to fix eyelet manually for those that does not have the grommet or eyelet plier. Very detailed video. So after that, I've done it, and I'll turn it to the right side, and I'll take my time to press iron. Please, you have to press iron the fabric so it can be relaxed. The next thing for us to do now is to fix our plastic bone. So we have different kinds of plastic bone. We have the one of 0.5 inch and 0.25 inch. So one thing I do is, some people make use of paper tape, but because paper tape is always hard, you struggle to fix it because that tape will be hard to push in. I use this method, and what is the method about? I use my scissors to trim my plastic bone at the edge so it will not be too sharp. Then I use my lighter to burn the tip. It's not like I'm going to burn it to melt. I'll just burn it to make it not to be too sharp, so this way it will smoothly go in. So before you can do this, you first measure the plastic bone, then you will now be able to cut and do all that. And also, when fixing your plastic bone, leave at least 1.5 inch on the down part so that it can freely move and it will not get into the seam allowance. Then you go and iron it. So now the next part for us to do is to hem it. So being this is an half length corset top, you are going to be joining this to a gown or a trouser or making it as a crop top, but this is a corset blouse, so we have to hem it. And what I did is to turn the cloth inside out like this, then I pinned on the hem line. So while pinning, you have to leave some allowance, like maybe 4 inches. That's what we're going to be using turning everything after we've joined it on the hem area. So I'm going to be pinning it. Every seam allowance should touch each seam allowance. That is what will make it align. Then this is the part I said you have to leave an opening of 4 inches or 5 inches. So when sewing it, like the way we did for the bust area, I added my hemming gum, just one piece, so that when I'm ironing it, it will help me to make the clothes to relax well. But please notch everything round, then afterwards you turn it like so. Then the opening, I am going to secure it. So this is it. I have ironed everything well and I've secured it. So after that, for the rope that I'll be using to lace my corset back, I cut out a very long piece of fabric which is 3 yards, and for the width I measured at least 1.5 inches. That's what I'm trying to make you to see here. I think 1.5 or 2 inches. Then I folded it in a way that it will be very secured, and that's how I was able to get that rope. So here's the end result. I had to beg my neighbor's daughter to help me to fit the clothes. You'll notice that it was looking like it is not her size because the owner is not nearby. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you learned something new. See you in my next one. Till then, keep winning.